Recording live from Glory Hole Studios in Chicago and beyond. This is Cognitive Dissonance. Every episode we blast anyone who gets in our way. We bring critical thinking, skepticism, and irreverence to any topic that makes the news, makes it big, or makes us mad. It's skeptical, it's political, and there is no welcome mat. Today is Thursday, September 18th, when you're hearing this. And we're going to talk quite a bit about, actually, Jeffrey Epstein and some of the factors and conspiracies that are fucking true and legit.
Yeah. And I think what is interesting about these stories, so there's two stories. The one story is how JPMorgan enabled the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein. Nice long article from the New York Times that goes into a lot of the banking things that were happening behind the scenes and also talks to people who were involved with those banking transactions and with the wheeling and dealing that went on with Jeffrey Epstein and how they helped basically make sure that his lifestyle could continue exactly how he wanted it and participated in, by facilitating it, participated in some of these crimes, right?
Absolutely.
Now they're not on the hook for this stuff, but genuinely when you read this article, you think, well, gosh, someone should have said something, but nobody did.
Right.
The other article that we're going to be covering is from The Atlantic. You really need to see Epstein's birthday book for yourself. This was teased a while back with Trump. Someone had done a artist's rendition of the image that Trump had supposedly signed. It was a dialogue between two people, maybe something you would find in a script or a screenplay where two people are having a conversation and it's Epstein and Trump. And at the end, Trump says, may we always have some wonderful secrets between ourselves or whatever, and then signs it.
Creepy.
So they drew on this artist rendition a woman's image, and Trump's signature is supposed to be the bush on that. It turns out that it actually looks like a lot more like a very young girl's image than it does a woman's image when you see the final image. We'll show it on the screen eventually. But what this showed me when I these two articles in tandem, Tom, what this showed me was that maybe it isn't the conspiracy of people who are partaking in the same things Jeffrey Epstein is partaking in, but more that people who are really powerful don't give a fuck what you do and will just fucking continue to hang out with you and let you do shit and also know about it and still not care about it.
Yeah.
That's what it struck me as.
I think so too. And I think I think what this also shows without a shadow of a doubt, right? You cannot walk away from these articles without saying these rich and powerful men do not care about, care for, or want to protect women. They just don't. Like the attitude that is built into the entire birthday book, the attitude that's built into, saying, I'm sure this guy is up to something shady, let's still give him money, says, I have a worldview that says women are less than men. I have a worldview that says that violence and predation against women is fun, funny, and cool. There's no getting around that. Yeah. Is there a conspiracy? There is a conspiracy. And at its heart, there is a conspiracy of men who are very, very comfortable facilitating the predation of women. Like aggressively facilitating it and condoning it. And then joking and laughing about it.
It's not just women. It's not just men. It's women who also condone it.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's multiple times that women in this article will be joking around about the things he does to young women.
That's very true, yeah.
They know the things he does. They don't care about those things. So the thing that everybody seemed to think was the conspiracy was that Jeffrey Epstein was a sex predator who sort of incorporated people in his orbit into his sex predatory stuff. So all the stuff that he did that was sexual, he got a bunch of people involved and basically was a pimp for trafficking young girls, right? So that's what the conspiracy is. It turns out some of that is true. He did share some of these young girls, and in this article, one of the people even admits it, right? That they were shared. But what really is the real conspiracy is that a really rich and powerful person can have a bunch of people tied around his finger and then applaud him when he does horrible shit and put it down in a book as if it's a joke.
Yeah. And major banking institutions. And I want to take issue a little bit with the New York Times here, specifically for the headline and the way they frame it. And I know this is picking a nit to a certain degree. How JPMorgan enabled the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein. I know that at the time that a lot of the money lending was going on, that the bank was known as JPMorgan, but it is Chase. Everyone knows it as Chase Bank. If you drive around and you see a branch right now, the branding is Chase. It bothers me that they don't call it Chase, because that's the current institution that if you are appalled by this, I would not want anybody to say, hey, well, I've never heard of JPMorgan. Like, who's JPMorgan? That's Chase Bank. So if you read through this article and you say, like, God, I would never want to do business with an institution that does this, it would not be immediately apparent to everybody that JPMorgan is Chase. And that bothers me. I really wish the Times made it a point to say they rebranded as Chase, but it's the same fucking bank. It's the largest bank in the world.
You're surprised the New York Times didn't attack a corporate overlord, Tom?
I know, man. I know.
Are you surprised by that?
I'm not surprised. I just want our listeners to see it, because it jumped to me. It screams off the page.
Yeah,
it screams off the page to use the former branding of that institution.
For sure.
Because I think it says, well, this is something that happened in the past.
So we'll use the name of the thing that happened in the past and not the current name of the corporation that owns what was JPMorgan.
Right. And that fucking irks the shit out of me. So, like, starting at the New York Times article, basically, Jeffrey Epstein had a lot of money under his control. And as somebody with a lot of money under his control, he wields a tremendous amount of power with financial institutions. Financial institutions compete. They have like wealth management arms, et cetera. They are competing aggressively for the business of people who control this kind of money, who can put money in their bank, who can put deposits in their bank, who can create accounts with their banks. It's not like you and I who have some money that, in our checking account or savings accounts or, some modest investments. Like, we're talking about a guy who didn't have himself, but was controlling the movement of billions of dollars at the time. So these banks were falling all over themselves to do business with Jeffrey Epstein. He made a personal friendship with one of the mucky mucks, one of the head executives at Chase, and put a bunch of money over in Chase. And they saw a pattern of incredibly suspicious activity. Red flag after red flag after red flag after red flag. And people were coming to that guy who had made friends, that executive who was running the account, who was getting rich off that account being at Chase, who was clearly being personally incentivized financially to have that money in that account there. And they kept saying, this is a fucking problem. We looked at this guy. This guy's got a lot of big withdrawals. This guy's taking a lot of cash. That's always suspicious. We don't live in a cash world. The underworld is a cash world. The outside world doesn't do much with cash. And he's like, look the other way, guys. Look the other way. These guys fucking knew. They knew. They raised it. They called it. He dismissed it.
They were saying that he was the top earner for the bank one year when he brought in $8 million in fees.
Fucking fees,
so
man.
They charged him $8 million in fees for the transactions that he did and the things that he put through their bank. $8 million he brought into their bank. It's a drop in the bucket for billions and billions and billions of dollars, but you also have to consider if he's the biggest one, aren't they trying to keep that whale on the hook?
100%.
Aren't they trying to make sure that that person is happy? And it was a two-way street between them. Jeffrey would bring tips and people to him because he was what they called in the article, they describe him as a collector of people. So what he would do is he would work his way through, find a bunch of people, have a bunch of people as connections, and then he would introduce people. He was a conduit to have everybody, this person meets this person and this person meets this person.
A maven in Malcolm Gladwell's terms,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, right. He's a maven. So he's a guy who's doing all this work. And this is amazing for them. Introduced the guy who does the Google, the guy who had like a bunch of billions of dollars for Google that they immediately took over wealth management for, which was intensely amount of money for them to be siphoning money off of all their fees and all the interest rates and things that they can take money from. They're going to be getting so much money from that, and they're happy to do it. And so Jeffrey could then do things like open accounts for women without having them show up.
Mm-hmm.
He could, create these accounts, which is often what happens with traffickers, is where they control the money that comes in, using money as a way to control the people who are sort of basically they own.
Right.
And he did this multiple times. He would get out large sums of money. That large sums of money would normally be a red flag in anyone else's account, but in his account, it was fine. And we're talking the money that he's taking out is going directly towards the women that he's paying off. He's buying, he's raping young girls and then paying them off time and time and time again throughout his whole, and this goes back a long way. This isn't just a small, short amount of time. They're talking this stuff started in 1985.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to note that this did not fly under the radar. It's not like people didn't know.
They knew it.
They fucking knew. And people whose job it was to be worried about these red flags, they were worried about these red flags. But because this guy was so powerful and had so much money, and money is power and money is influence, they were able to say like, hey, look, if there's anybody else, we would say this is a red flag. Let's look into it. Let's decide let's debank. Let's decide not to do business with that person anymore, because that is a dangerous person who's engaged in clearly illegal activity, or there is a pattern of behavior which leads us to think that they are engaged in. Instead, they were like, no, it's fine. It's fine. This is like the executive who was running the interference was like borrowing Jeffrey Epstein's personal property and like living in like spending time like in his like properties for vacations and shit. This was a clear violation of any kind of fiduciary responsibility and like appropriate professional distance. We've talked about this in the past. Like at my work, I am not allowed to accept gifts over like a certain like modest amount, right? Like I can go out to a dinner. I can't go to fucking per se, right? Like a client could take me out to dinner at like a decent steak
like
joint.
Gibson's or something.
But like, we're not going to fucking per se. We're not going to Alinea.
Yeah.
That's like, I'm not getting like tickets like in the fucking skybox to go see the game. Like, that's not a thing. Like, we can't do that stuff. Every bank has rules and procedures and policies in place because this kind of conflict of interest is easily solvable. It's easily solved for. They just didn't do it. They just skipped over it.
And a lot of people who were supposed to be paying attention to this were alarmed by it, and any of the objections they had were hand waved away. But there was also people who should have been alarmed by it who were joking around about it.
Yeah, man.
And there's emails back and forth where someone says, I went to a thing this weekend and there was a bunch of young girls. Jeffrey Epstein would have been really at home here. And then someone else replies, and this is a woman who replies to him and says, yeah, he really does like him young. And in New York, I was in New York this weekend and I was with someone who also is a businessman who likes him young. They never say who that businessman is, by the way.
A New York businessman in Jeffrey Epstein's orbit.
Who likes him young, but they're like, oh, yeah, it's ha, 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 or whatever. And they're laughing about it. So, and this person who he's connected to throughout the whole piece, they're talking about this person who he knew who was one of the muckety mucks at Chase at the time. He like shared his assistant with them. Yeah. Like his assistant at one point, this assistant who went on to accuse Jeffrey of rape and grooming her. Mm-hmm. And, she at this time was like in her 20s, but Jeffrey when he first met her, certainly seems like she was very, very, maybe not even in her 20s at that time when she met him. This guy had sex with her.
Yeah.
Like Jeffrey did this to share her with him. Like, and it's like, and then they also had conversations back and forth that certainly look creepy as fuck when you read them.
Dude,
right?
So fucking creepy
as shit when you read them.
So creepy.
Yeah.
This, like, what is to me really striking is that this was like less conspiracy. When I think of a conspiracy, I think of people like whispering in the shadows.
Yeah.
Not just saying out loud what's happening.
Wide open. It's not a conspiracy. Yeah. It's like he just was a guy who would rape young women because you can't consent when you're that age, right. Everybody. Like, that's why it's rape, right? Yeah. You can't consent when you're that age. I don't care what kind of money he offers you. I don't care what he says to you. It doesn't matter. He's raping that person.
Yes.
And so all the people that he raped, and we found out after he's dead and after all the things are starting to come out, we found out that these are in the hundreds or thousands of people that he has sexually assaulted, right? That sort of thing is like, these people he's raping and nobody says anything. Everybody's just like, yeah, I guess that's just what he likes. Yeah. He's got eclectic tastes. Oh, well.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
That's just how rich people can just get away with it.
Well, like, there's the fact that this was so well known and this was so like openly joked about, it speaks volumes to a couple of things. I mean, one, the fact that other people are joking about it speaks volumes to the culture of rape that we live in.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? It just defines it. It just says like, yeah, we can't talk. And then the other thing is like, yeah, we also know that there are no repercussions for the ultra wealthy, that we don't even actually have to hide the bad actions of the ultra wealthy. If they come to the light of the wrong person, well, we'll just fix it. It's like, why even be worried? When you're that wealthy, you can do anything you want and money will fix it. Money will fix it so much that like it won't even get to the right channels. Like your point about like, you cannot have sex with a underage woman. You can only rape an underage woman, right? It's not possible.
Yeah.
And yet, if you look at the criminal history of what Jeffrey Epstein was actually successfully charged with, what he pled to, was he pled to like underage prostitution charge. There's no such thing as an underage prostitute.
Yeah.
That's what you have is a sex trafficked, raped minor.
Yeah.
It's impossible for there to be an underage prostitute. A minor cannot be a prostitute. Like a minor can only be a sex trafficked rape victim. That's it. Like, it's impossible definitionally. But like this guy had so much money that everybody was either afraid to challenge him or they were afraid of losing out on their piece of the gravy train.
That's the thing, man.
It's one or the other, man. And it seems like more of the second one than the first.
And I feel like there's a lot of these people who swim in these circles probably realize, even if they found what he did distasteful, they probably realized that if they were the one to point it out, or they were the one to step away from him, or they were that they are going to be on the outs with everybody, right? I recognize that, like, if there's a whole group of people and they all like this guy, and you're the person on the outside of that, you're not going to be part of that group anymore,
right? Yeah.
And their transactions and the things and the way in which they move through the world requires them to have connections. And if you start alienating one of those connections or saying, I don't want to work with that connection, I don't like that, I don't think that's a good thing, that can suddenly turn you into a pariah.
Oh, 100%.
So these people recognize, like you say, they saw where their fucking bread was buttered.
Yep.
And they knew that if they raised a stink, even if they had, and I don't think you're moral if you don't stand up for this, right? I don't think you're a moral person.
Right, you can't be.
But if they had any compunction at all, if they had something in them that was irking at them, they didn't listen to it. They didn't do anything about it. I mean, you got people in here, you know, we're going to talk about his book in a few minutes, but like there's people in that book that, you know, these are famous names, people who are posting things, putting things in there. In this story too, what was so shocking to me when I was reading this was the amount of people who knew what he was doing and still let him be around their child.
Yeah, what is that?
That fucking was weird as shit. There's a person in this story who was Jeffrey used to date the mom. The mom went on to marry somebody else and they had a kid. And that kid's picture was all over Jeffrey's house, like all over the place. Later on, after Jeffrey Epstein dies, he leaves part of his estate to her. She refused it, the little girl. Yeah. She's now an adult now, right? Her lawyer was like, they don't even want it. Keep it. I don't want it. Go fuck yourself. But like this guy who he's sharing his assistant with, that person, like he let Jeffrey Epstein mentor his daughter.
What the fuck?
That's some fucking crazy shit that you just like, if you know it, if you're in that circle and you know it, how do you let him around your vulnerable child? I don't understand that at all.
So I wanted to ask you, because this is something that occurred to me when I was reading the article. And this is not, I want to be very clear. I'm exploring an idea. I'm not making an excuse. But I'm curious what your thought is. We've talked before about the media and the attitudes around consent and women that we see reflected in like movies and television from the 1980s and 1990s. Thinking back to like classic movies like Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one we've talked about before.
Sure.
Classic movies that have really, really problematic,
very problematic
depictions of consent that are played off for humor.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much that culture, that like rape culture, that disinterest in things like statutory rape, that disinterest in like really contending with consent and like contending like with women as human beings and like autonomous people, not just sex objects, that like really was so pervasive. It's still pervasive, but you know what I'm getting at. Yeah. How much of that do you think, if any, is a factor here?
Well, I think it's a huge factor.
Yeah.
I think it's the culture that you're indoctrinated into, right? So like I don't think when you look at this book, so how old, let's just do the math.
Yeah.
When was Jeffrey Epstein born? So Epstein's born in 1953. In 2003 is when they're writing this book that we're going to talk about in a minute, the one that has the Trump image in it. In 2003, I think that we are coming out of, and we're still finding, lots of jokes about rape culture, lots of jokes about, certainly, I don't think until we got into probably the mid 2010s, people thought that maybe an 18-year-old shouldn't be dating a 35-year-old.
Yeah.
I think that's a relatively new thing that has popped up. Fucking Seinfeld, when he was doing that show, I think when he was doing that show, he was in his late 30s and dating a girl who was in high school, essentially.
Jesus Christ.
So these types of things, that was not considered weird at all back then. It was like the younger the girl, the bigger the deal it was for the person who got her. Like that was sort of a thing that I think a lot of people saw and were just like, if they were legal, then it was a thing that was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And even if they weren't, it turns out, not as big a deal as it would be today, I think.
I think that's exactly, I'm just thinking, this is 2003 is 14 years before Me Too.
Yeah.
14 years before Me Too. And Me Too was like, holy shit late, you just look at like Me Too and it's like, well, what are we contending with? Well, we're contending with, some really basic issues. Really genuinely like morally basic issues about consent. Not terribly complicated, honestly, but these were issues that clearly we had not contended with socially in a big way before. By 1985, 1990s, like when I look back at the media that was big at that time, our ideas about sex and women and consent were so fucking toxic.
And they're also so different from how we view things today, right? So different from, I think, a much more progressive view. I don't think we're there yet.
Right.
We got a long way to go. But I think a very different timeline, right? I think back to the movies that you're suggesting, and I think, wow, that like, you watch it today and you're taken aback by, wow, that's actually rape, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you just raped that girl. That's not consent, homie. That's rape.
Yeah.
But back then, it's a joke.
Funny.
It's a joke. That's what was played for humor. And, looking back on stuff from a current lens always does that, right? You could look back at a million movies back in the day where the lady slaps the guy and the guy grabs her and kisses her or whatever without asking or whatever. It's a weird moment back in how many movies back in the day had a girl slap a guy and then he kisses her? How many movies, right? That's like a fucking trope. Like, you look back on that now and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ, what is happening? Like, what on the earth? But like back then, that's a totally different feeling of how humans interact with each other. And it's hard to look at it from a lens of today.
Yeah, I and I want to be, again, clear. Like, I just wanted to explore the impact of that. I don't believe that it is an excuse, right?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely
I just want our audience to get that.
Yeah.
Like, I am not trying to suggest that in any way.
Yeah.
It's just the contextualizing of it. What it really to me says is we lived in an even more toxic culture for women to grow up in.
Yeah, in a shitty, awful culture.
And because of that, that cultural attitude also helped this stuff fly under the radar.
Yeah.
Because like everybody just thought it was funny. Everybody just thought it was a quirk. Like that raping kids was a quirk.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck? What world were we living in? I don't want to go too far down this road, but like, I think it's important to note that as certain forces in our society right now, political forces and social forces and technological forces, they are working to try to rebuild that world.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a world that there are really powerful people trying to say, that's the world to go back to. If we go back to that world, we go back to a world where powerful men have even more impunity to engage in this kind of activity. I just think that's worth noting.
Where Jeffrey Epstein's crimes are a joke rather than a horror.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a place you don't want to be. And I understand what you're saying. You're not trying to explain. You're not trying to excuse it. You're trying to explain it though.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to explain that there is a different time frame. That is a different way in which people thought about this stuff. And it helps facilitate this. It makes it so when people are like, it was a big conspiracy, it's like, yeah, it was a conspiracy of society.
Right. That's exactly it, Cecil.
It's a conspiracy of society to sweep this under the rug and to say women don't matter as much.
Dude, thank you. Yeah. That is the perfect way to articulate what I was trying to get at. And you did it in one sentence. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
You didn't need, in 1985, 1990, 1985, you didn't need a cabal of people working in secret because you had the tacit approval of the rest of the society.
Exactly it, yeah.
From The Atlantic, you really need to see Epstein's birthday book for yourself. The birthday book, holy shit, it is so much more troubling.
Let me put some of these on the big screen because you're right, it is very troubling.
For those who are just listening, I'll describe these. So there is a really poorly drawn picture of Jeffrey Epstein, presumably, 1983, Jeffrey Epstein giving a bunch of balloons and lollipops to little kids, little girls, obviously juvenile girls. And then 20 years later, 2003, there is a picture of a lady blowing Jeffrey Epstein, a lady massaging his feet, and two other women massaging him up top. And then it says, what a great country. And the very, very clear message is that he groomed the girls in 1983 to become the girls in 2003. That he groomed young children.
Yeah.
This is the most disgusting image. This is in his fucking birthday celebration book.
There's a bunch of these images. The one with Trump, where he's talking about, we have a great secret, don't we?
Can we find that? Can I read it?
Yeah.
I want to read it. I think here's the thing. It's so, the Trump one is so fucking creepy. The language, the image itself is troubling, for sure. But the weird script dialogue, it's like it was custom made for conspiracy theories.
So now I want you, if you're watching this, there was a artist rendition of this that very much looked like a voluptuous female.
Right.
This does not look like that at all. This looks like a child.
Problematically.
It looks problematically like a child. Go ahead.
Voiceover. There must be more to life than having everything. Donald. Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. Jeffrey. Nor will I, since I also know what it is. Donald, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, yes, we do, come to think of it. Donald, enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey, as a matter of fact, it was clear to me the first time that I saw you. Donald, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. Then he signs his name. That's his fucking signature.
That's his signature.
It's in the crotch.
And it's clearly in the same fucking marker that drew the fucking image
Yeah.
above it. I mean, like, it's hard not to look at this and think Donald Trump drew this.
I'm sorry. It's impossible not to take this and say they're talking about how we both like fucking kids.
Yeah, I don't know how you...
What else are you talking about?
I don't know how you read that any other way. I mean, and here's the thing, right? You have cultivated this QAnon audience.
Right.
And you're talking like this. Like,
the lady don't
as much as I want to be like, well, let's throw the brakes on. There's a QAnon guy with a fucking engineer hat on being like, shoot, motherfucker. Like, are you kidding me?
That dialogue is so that's suggestive. That dialogue says we have a common secret.
Yeah.
It makes life better for us. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's not only about material possessions. It's about this shared secret that we have together. Jeffrey Epstein's whole book is about being a sex predator.
Yeah. And the rest of that book isn't any better. Let me see if I can find some other images from it.
So here's one I want to read parts of. You very dear boy. I don't even know who this is from. This was as Cecil was scrolling.
A guy named Nick.
I was speaking to BB last night before writing this email. We both agreed that we're at a loss to decide which of the hundreds of hilarious incidents to pinpoint for you. There are just too many. Inspecting the Royal School girls' dorms. Chasing rabbits with Toto in the yard. Trying to get somebody's husband out of the way in Manila. Blocking someone's loo with, who cares about the rest of that stuff. But like immediately I see like, oh, some schoolgirls. And then here, let me read this. Sitting between Tramps and Toto and Doggy got into the back of Doggy's car with so-and-so that's blacked out. Sitting between them, Toto, grinning happily at the old man, reached down and pulled so-and-so's skirt up to her panties and put his hand on her pussy. The old man, smiling sweetly, leaned over and stuffed his hand into her pants, so Toto found his fingers playing with Doggy's.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Suddenly the awful truth sunk in, but Toto was too shocked to remove his hand, so they drove to Tramps with both of them still trapped in so-and-so's knickers. Fucking hell.
That's like a sexual assault. Like you're describing a sexual assault.
Yeah, we teamed up to sexually assault
And what's great is like, that's what I put in your birthday book.
Yeah, this is a fond memory.
What didn't make it in your birthday book, Jeff?
Christ. Like, then there's the image that we described earlier.
Here's one.
Disgusting.
This one is, someone has blocked out what is actually on this check, but it's like a big fake check. And they say for, Jeffrey is paying for like a partially used woman or a used up woman, fully depreciated woman. And it says Trump and it's $22,000 on there. And here's the thing, like what I saw, what they said in the article, in one of these articles, was that the reason why he did that is because I guess Trump dated someone or Jeffrey dated someone that Trump dated, or Trump dated someone that Jeffrey dated, and someone's giving a check to the other person as if like, I use this one up, but here's some money instead or something like that. That's what the joke is. But like, what's the joke, man? Like, what's funny about that joke?
I'll tell you how many of these, by the way, there's a fucking boobs one. I want to get what you want, so here it is. And then there's fucking boobs that somebody drew. I also want to just point out like how these are supposed to be like powerful, wealthy, influential people. And most of them have handwriting and drawings like a not particularly precocious third grader. Like embarrassingly awful.
When you read this book, because it's men and women are posting in it. Men and women are sending things to, I think it was Ghislaine Maxwell who put it all together for him. Rich and powerful people, political figures. Bill Clinton's in here. Now, Bill Clinton doesn't say anything suggestive necessarily, but like wishes him a happy birthday or whatever. But there's plenty of people who felt like it was okay to wink, wink, nudge, nudge at the stuff they knew he was doing.
Yep.
Which, again, we point back to the previous story and to this story, And it's like, this sort of thing was known by a great deal of people and they didn't fucking care.
Yeah.
This guy is saying Jeffrey Epstein's giving balloons to little girls and 20 years later getting a blowy from one of them.
Yep.
Like, he's grooming young people. That's literally the joke. And they made someone sat down and drew it, Tom.
Yeah, man.
Like that's not, look, if you're going to say something off the cuff, that's different than sitting down to your artist table for the evening to create an image of it. There's a very big difference between those two things.
There's a huge difference. And like, if you received a book like this, or if you were like a part of a book like this, you should be like, what the fuck is, like, if there's no innocent explanations. That's the thing, is that there's no innocent explanations for the people that are involved. We already know Epstein wasn't an innocent actor, so like, set that aside.
Yeah.
But like, there is no innocent explanation for the person who drew that image. You cannot conjure one.
Yeah.
You cannot build one. There's no innocent explanation. That's the thing with like that weird Trump dialogue. There isn't. I can't come up with a single innocent explanation for that, contextualized with this picture of this naked person. What else is the dialogue about? There is no innocent explanation for any of this. What we have is, like we've suggested, like, it's less of a conspiracy than an open secret of powerful people who feel entirely entitled to the bodies of women.
Entitled to do whatever they want and get away with it.
Yes.
My money can open any door and it can close any door I want to.
That's right. And what am I going to be worried about? Some podunk ass sheriff?
Doesn't matter.
Right.
I can get around that sort of thing. And even in Jeffrey Epstein's case, in the previous story we were talking about, even in Jeffrey Epstein's case, when he went to go talk to people and basically say, even this is after he's been convicted of a sex crime that he had plead down to a misdemeanor, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to spend time in jail. They still were like, yeah, but he's a fucking earner.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's an earner.
He's an earner.
So even though the people at the company were like, this is fucking gross, no. And they fucking threw Wesley Snipes now on his ear for tax evasion.
Right, yeah.
Immediately we're like, we're not gonna even bother with Wesley Snipes accounts anymore. Fuck that guy forever. He had tax evasion? No, he can't bank with us anymore. But Jeffrey Epstein literally is a sex predator who has to spend time in jail. And Chase is like, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
fine.
cool. Yeah, we had a meeting about it. We were concerned.
Well, what is your concern? Your concern is we're concerned we're going to lose money.
We all drank cups of coffee and had a conversation, and now we're done with that.
Yep.
That's what we did.
It wasn't until a new CEO of Chase took over and basically was like, that guy? Who's the guy, like, when they're talking about the guy that was like the executive that was connected to both personally and professionally Jeffrey Epstein. And they're like, that dude's fucking demoted.
Yeah.
And they demoted that guy. And then that basically like removed the power structure that protected him, and he got debanked.
Yeah.
He got kicked the fuck out of Chase. So I want to give credit there that, like, I think the current CEO of Chase is Jamie Dimon. He's been the CEO for a long time now. And like, my understanding is he was like, that dude sucks. That guy's demoted. As soon as that happened, nobody was covering for Epstein anymore. But we're talking about decades.
Yeah.
Fucking decades of not just one guy, but an entire power structure. An entire power structure saying, this is permissible if you earn for us. If you introduce us to other earners too.
What happens with this letter now that it's out? Now that people have seen it,
man,
what happens with this letter that you can see clearly that Donald Trump did it? Donald Trump's still denying that he did it. At first, he said there was no letter, right? So he's saying there isn't one.
He's never written a picture in his whole life.
And he's never drawn a picture and written a picture.
Written a
picture, even though they have images of his
drawing.
drawings.
Yeah. He's auctioned off drawings of the sky.
Even though he's definitely done it.
Yeah.
But in any case, Donald Trump has said first, he said there was no letter, that this is a fabrication. And someone had drawn it, artist rendition of it, but not the real thing when they released it. Now, there's an actual version of it that they released out to the public that no one had ever seen before. And so this is the first week that we get an opportunity to see it. What happens in the Trump universe based on this?
I think they use the Charlie Kirk thing to hide from this as much as possible.
Anything to hide from it. Doesn't matter. Charlie Kirk's going to be out of the news in a couple of days.
Yeah, that's true. I think this is damning. I don't know how you spin it. I think you just deny it.
Yeah.
I think the Trump administration's primary tactic of reality control has been to just simply insist rather than explain.
Yeah.
And I think there would be no reason for him to take a different tack. The first tack was there was no book. So if you remember, the first thing they said was there is no such book. That's made up. I'm going to sue the Wall Street Journal. I'm going to sue and defamation the Wall Street Journal. Now there's definitely a book. The fucking house, like, here's how it got out. The House Oversight Committee is the one who released it. So it's not like this was like leaked from some weird third party source. This was like released from Congress, from a bipartisan committee. So this seems really tough to walk away from. He's saying it's not his signature. It's a forgery.
Yeah.
It's his fucking signature.
It looks just like all the other signatures.
Yeah.
So a really good forgery. What about Marjorie Taylor Greene walking around? I saw a picture of her hanging it up in Congress.
Yeah.
Literally taking this image and walking up and putting it on a wall.
Here's the weird thing I think about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think she's a true believer.
She's a true believer.
So that makes her dangerous in a different way. I think a lot of the people in Congress are, they're fair weather believers.
Mike Johnson's a perfect example.
Yeah, Mike Johnson
doesn't believe anything.
No.
All he believes is how he can try to get more power.
That's literally the perfect example. Kash Patel. What does Kash Patel stand for?
Yeah.
Literally nothing. These are not real people, right? They don't count. They have no moral compass. They're not even human beings.
Did you see what Johnson said this week when he was like, he's an FBI informant?
Oh, yeah, oh my God.
And then he had to walk it back and be like, oh, I guess FBI informants, they kind of know what happens. So Mike Johnson said that Trump was an FBI informant on Jeffrey Epstein, which is why he was connected to him, but he was trying to get him caught doing horrible shit. And then people were like, oh, so then he saw the horrible shit that Jeffrey Epstein was doing, and then he had to walk it back and be like, no, I never saw anything. No, I never did anything. I
really
like that.
mean FBI
What
informant.
I meant to say was that he cooperated with
law
I got my terms mixed up.
He is such a lying piece of shit.
Such a
lying piece of shit. But that's what I mean by, like, he's not even a real person. Like, he's not a human being that counts. He's a power broker, and that's all he cares about. So he'll move whatever levers he needs to move in whatever direction the wind blows, if it's to an advantage for him or his party or whoever But like Marjorie Taylor Greene, there's a handful of those people that, like, they're fucking nuts. They're wrong about almost everything important, but they're true believers.
Yeah.
So she has the force of her conviction. She's a fucking lunatic. But she is not having this.
She's still a true believer. She's not taking anybody else's word. So crazy. Yeah. I mean, like, in my opinion, I'm like that guy in Godzilla who's like, let them fight. Like, I'm like that. I know. Dude. I'm that dude who's in the back who's like, yep, they're going to fist fight. Cool.
Yep.
Don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, let them
hurt
do
each other.
Go for it. Like, I'm 100% like, I want her to do as much damage as possible. And the good thing is what we talked about last year when you were saying, like, she's the biggest draw in the Republican Party. If you want to win, you get her to come and speak on your stage. That could be a huge damaging blow.
Could be a huge thing, man.
A huge blow.
Yeah.
So I hope that this continues on and nobody forgets about this and everybody keeps on pointing this out. I think that they can't block this forever. They can't block it forever. They're gonna weaken some of these pieces because these people have to go home eventually.
Yeah, I think they at some point they are going to be forced to call a vote.
Yeah,
they are going, like, so far they haven't even gotten to a place where they were willing to vote.
Yeah,
they are going to get to a place, and that is going to create a pressure where nobody is going to want to be on record saying, I voted against the releasing of these files.
Yeah.
This is going to happen.
They're the ones who basically were like, let me crank this time bomb up. Click, 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 and I'll set it right here.
What?
And then I'll watch it count down and be like, oh, is that a bomb?
Oh, no.
I don't know what I did.
Idiots.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for our long form show this week. We'll be back on Monday with a full show, and we're going to catch you next time. We're going to leave you like we always do with the Skeptic's Creed.
Credulity is not a virtue. It's fortune cookie cutter mommy